the Sony A7IV. So I've had this camera for a little over 8 months now, and this is a camera that is wildly popular. A lot of YouTube creators and also professionals love using this, and there's many good reasons for that. And so now I'm going to be giving you my pros and cons of using this camera like 8 months later. And I haven't done a full review on this, and I don't know if I'm going to because so many people have done reviews. And at the same time, I'm constantly learning new things about this camera and how to use it. So let's go ahead and start off with the most obvious thing with this camera, and that is the absolutely amazing autofocus. So right now I am shooting this with my previous camera, my Panasonic Lumix G85. I pretty much love everything about this camera and the whole Lumix line as a whole, except for autofocus. So when it comes to video autofocus, especially as a content creator and you're shooting yourself, you don't have anybody else to shoot this video for you, having reliable, consistent video autofocus is really important. And that is the main reason why I went to the Sony system. And so that is the first thing, and it definitely doesn't disappoint. And then secondly, it's just the sheer amount of features on this camera. There's so many things that are available here, so many things that I'm learning, and it's definitely a good thing because this is one of those cameras that you could definitely grow into for the long term, especially for somebody like myself. I am not a professional videographer or a professional photographer. I'm more of an average, normal user, and I'm probably more of somebody who likes the whole point and shoot stuff. But as I'm getting into something like this, which is more of a prosumer grade, it's really upping my level in terms of what I'm learning, what I need to learn, and how I'll grow into the future. And so with all of these really powerful features, I don't think I'm going to be upgrading this anytime soon. So that's definitely a good thing. And now another great aspect of this camera is just the high quality build and handling. So this is one of the cameras that I really enjoy using because of the way it's built. And for around $2,500 just for the camera alone, you would expect there to be quality, and Sony does deliver. I really love using this camera, and even though it is full frame, it doesn't feel super heavy. And at the same time, they put in features that are really thoughtful and forward thinking. For example, these flaps right here, they are harder plastic. They're not the flimsy plastic one that just goes everywhere. And so this has a nice solid feel. It keeps things sealed. And you have a lot of additional features like a headphone jack plus a full-size HDMI cable. All of these things are really important. And at least for me, probably the biggest feature is this right here, the flippy screen. Now, this is something that I'm used to using the Panasonic G85, but I think all modern cameras should have this, especially for YouTube content creators, because it is just so convenient for you to have this flippy screen as you're shooting video of yourself. And so all of these features that you could see and all the little features that you don't think about are really important. And then other things like having some weather resistance, all of these things add up to a very high quality build camera that you really enjoy using on a day-to-day basis. And then I say the final biggest pro with using this is the simple fact that, well, this camera makes me want to create more. And so that is something that is super important because at the end of the day, these are simply tools. And if you are a creator, you want these tools to actually help you become a better creator. And whenever you offer a product that gives you so much and it makes it so easy for you to create, then obviously you're probably going to want to create even more and more. And then to go along with that, since I do really enjoy using this camera, it gives me so much and then more, it makes me want to stay in this Sony ecosystem, which is why I got my very first lens. This is a Sony FE 1.8 50 millimeters. And the great thing about investing in a Sony system is they have a lot of third-party lenses. And lenses are really what make a camera at the end of the day. And in this case, you have a lot of options, especially affordable options, and you're not limited to just the Sony branded lenses. And that's something that I really do appreciate, not only from Sony, but all the other third-party manufacturers making great lenses for this camera and many other cameras in this system. And so as you could probably tell, I really do love using this camera. It offers so many things, and at the same time, it makes me want to create. And so those are the main pros that I have with this camera, but no camera is perfect, and neither is this. Protect your online privacy and keep data brokers from selling your personal information by using Delete Me, the #1 privacy information remover service since 2010. Sign up today and get 20% off your first order. For more information, check out the affiliate link in the description area below. Now, let's talk about the cons of using the Sony A7 IV, starting with the Sony menu system. Now, for a lot of longtime Sony users, they would say this is definitely a big improvement over the previous menu system. But since I didn't have any experience with that, and I came from a Panasonic menu system, which is, I would say, far superior, this is still really not a great menu system. It's very complex, it's confusing, it's not very user-friendly in my opinion. And so if you are somebody who has been a long-time Sony user, then you might have a different opinion. But if you're somebody like myself who's used a much better system like from Panasonic, then you will be disappointed in this. And hopefully they can upgrade this over time with firmware updates. And so that's the first thing. Menu system, not great at all. And then the second thing with this is there's something about the entire look of Sony's that make it look very digital and artificial. And I heard about that even before I got this camera. But now that I have it, I kind of see what they mean, especially coming from the Panasonic cameras. And each one of these cameras have their own look. And of course, you could actually change this in post, or you can use different LUTs. But out of the camera, even though the image quality is just really awesome and fantastic in many cases, there's just something about it that doesn't look film-like, that doesn't look natural. Whereas when I'm using my Panasonic camera, it does look that way. And maybe it's something I have to get used to. And then the final con for me is actually the biggest, and that is image stabilization. Even though this does have 5-stop stabilization, it's really not as good as my Panasonic cameras. And as a matter of fact, no matter what I do, if I'm walking around this camera, even if I have it on my portable tripod, there's always some jitter, even with the active stabilization. And I know you can use something like Catalyst Browse, but I don't want to have to do some additional work and then stabilize it later. I want to have something like my Panasonic Lumix G85, which just has amazing stabilization. And I didn't really know how good it was until I used the Sony A7 IV. And so hopefully that is something that maybe could be improved with firmware updates. But if not, then hopefully in the future, Sony will put Panasonic or Olympus level stabilization in the camera. And if it did that, then honestly, this would truly be a perfect camera for many people out there. And so those are my thoughts on the Sony A7 IV, the pros and cons, my overall review on this 8+ months later. And at the end of the day, this is an awesome camera. And if this is something that you feel that will help you and you can actually invest in it, then I highly recommend you do. And I would say for most people, they won't be disappointed. So if you actually had any thoughts on a Sony A7 IV or any of your favorite cameras, be sure to leave in the comments area below. And if you did want to support my channel and get this camera, I will leave an affiliate link in the description area below. Plus, if you want to see my original unboxing and initial review and thoughts on the Sony A7 IV, I will leave a video up here or in the description area below.